Good evening. Welcome in the Yuengling Lager, PowerMizzou.com post-game live show after a 39-20 win for the Tigers in Starkville over Mississippi State. I am Gabe DeArmond. Gerard Hamilton going to join us from Davis Wade Stadium down the road after post-game is over in Starkville. Appreciate all of you who are here right at the start. We actually, for the first time maybe this year, had a game finish on time and started the post-game show on time. So thanks to everybody who's here right at the start. We're going to give it a little bit of time, let more people get in. Want to remind you, as we do at the beginning of every single pregame and postgame show, that our postgame shows this year are brought to you by Yuengling, America's oldest brewery. You can check them out at yuengling.com. If you are 21 years old. Also, if you're 21 years old, you can go wherever you might want. Hopefully you made a run earlier today to your favorite grocery store, gas station, liquor store, whatever it might be that carries Yuengling near you. Pick some up, and you're going to kick back and talk about this one with us over the next couple hours. Once again, lager up, enjoy responsibly, and appreciate the folks at Yuengling for helping us out all year long on our pregame and postgame shows. Also appreciate all of you who are here with us live at the beginning. Hit the like button, share, comment, subscribe, do all of those things. If you listen on the podcast, which I will put up afterward, share it on social media, tell your friends about us. And hey, we got 2 more of these to go, so trying to attract as many people as possible. Look, this is I don't know what to expect out of this show, because this was a weird game. Like there was just no real buildup for this game. I get it. The season almost kind of felt like it ended in some ways last Saturday night at South Carolina. I know it didn't. There's a lot to play for, all that, but a lot of Missouri fans, like, air went out of the balloon last Saturday. Not only did you lose to South Carolina, but you lost in a way that really hurt. And the goals were off the table, all that. Couple that with playing the worst team in the league on the road at the worst time slot in the league. And there just wasn't much, right? And I think they talked about it on the broadcast a lot. We talked about it a lot. Did Missouri have the motivation to come out and play well in this one? And a little bit, or like, there were some struggles early on, right? Defense, not a real good first drive. Offense, really bad first 2 drives. Just kind of looked like maybe shaking off some cobwebs. But here's the thing. You're playing Mississippi State. They're 2-8 for a reason. You could afford that clunky start. By halftime, it was 28-13. Missouri eventually wins 39-20 in a game that was never really in doubt. I want to talk a little bit about, I'm sure we will get to this when we go to the comments. One of the reasons for that is I don't know what the hell Jeff Lebby was doing in the fourth quarter. It was a 31-20 game, had 14 and a half minutes left, and his team had 4th and 3 on I think it was the 18-19 yard line. You kick a field goal there, it's 31-23. You're in an 8-point game. Missouri has struggled to finish off some drives, has given you a couple chances. Maybe they make a mistake. 8 points is 1 score in college football, guys. Yes, you have to go ahead and get the 2-point conversion, but 8 points is 1 score. He goes for it, doesn't get it. Mississippi State never again touched the ball with any chance to win that game. Look, if that was Eli Drinkwitz, the chat would be killing him for game mismanagement. So let's acknowledge when the other guy does it too. Missouri deserved to win that game. Missouri was the better team. Missouri dominated that game. Jeff Lebby ended that game about 10 minutes earlier than he had to, and I don't really understand why. Again, Gerard Hamilton doing postgame. He's going to be along with us in a while, but before that, we're going to get to some of your guys' comments in the chat, some of the voicemails. Do want to put up, if you're hanging out with us, but you want to leave us a voicemail, if you think it's important that your voice is heard rather than just typing the words, there you go. You go to speakpipe.com/PowerMizzou. Sham is downloading and uploading voicemails while I'm getting the show started. So we're going to get to those. Hear your comments as the show goes on. Again, speakpipe.com/PowerMizzou. All you got to do is press a button and start talking, guys. Keep it clean. If you start saying the same thing 27 other people have said, we're going to cut your voicemail, all that. Don't go on for 6 minutes. But we do encourage your participation here as we go on. All right, so going to just run through some of these comments in order. Sean says, I'm not one for running up the score, but first and goal at the one, punch it in. They wanted to be extra all game and chirp, let them taste another touchdown. Look, I've got kind of a different viewpoint on this. I think it's more insulting to down the ball at the one than it is to just go score. It's basically telling the other team, look, we know we could score on you. We know we can beat you by 26, but we're good with 19 and we're 3 feet away. And rather than punching it in again, we're just going to back up and take it. I honestly think that's more insulting. And I've always felt that way. And, again, some people think that the class that's the classy move. Eli Drinkwitz, Jeff Levy looked to get into it a little bit. I'm not going to quote what people thought he was saying, caught on camera. But it basically was quiet down over there or I'll punch this in. Again, like had Missouri scored a touchdown, hey, Mississippi State went for 4th down on its own 20. So they're telling you the game's not over. Cool, then go score. And now I don't have a problem with Drinkwitz taking a knee. Like, it's fine. That's his move. But I honestly really have always thought that it is more insulting to do that than it is to just score. And I don't know, maybe that was part of the end of it. I don't really know. Logan says we finally got the offense in sync, but unfortunately waited too long. Yeah, that was my first post game thought after this game, and I've got instant reaction posted over on our message board that you guys can read now after this, whatever. But my first thing was that was the Missouri team we thought we were going to see all year, right? Go out, you score 40. It didn't look very hard. Like you run for 200 yards. Luther Burden has a big day. Theo Weiss makes some plays. Brett Norfleet had a big play, even though it got called back. Brady Cook looks in control. That's the offense we thought we were going to see all year. And it was also the defense I thought we'd see all year. Like a couple big plays, but also some breakdowns. And like we came into this year thinking this is going to be a Missouri team that scores its way to however many wins it gets. And it really wasn't. I mean, guys, this was the first touchdown Missouri's offense has scored in the first half of an SEC game since Vanderbilt. That was the first SEC game, September 21st. So we're talking 2 months and 2 days without a touchdown in the first half of a conference game. That's 5 games. They had only 19 total points in the first half of SEC games coming into this one, scored 28 today in the first half, 7 of those on defense. But yeah, Logan's exactly right. Like part of you, and I want to say this, part of the reason we saw this offense was that's Mississippi State. Like that contributed, right? Kind of like we've been talking about the basketball team. Hey, the competition matters. Mississippi State's a bad football team, and they looked, I thought, a little worse than I expected them to look. But still, Missouri does deserve credit. But yeah, we thought that's the team we would see this year. And yes, injuries had something to do with it, but like Missouri didn't look like that on offense when they were healthy this year. They even when they had all the pieces in the BC game, the Vandy game, there just was something off most of the year about the offense. And it all came together today. It looked good. Missouri runs for 204 yards and on 56 carries. Would have been a little bit more, but they took a knee at the end there. And Nate Noel, 95 yards. Marcus Carroll, 3 touchdowns running. And guys, I thought it was worth pointing out, Missouri's averaging about 170 rushing yards a game. They are about 370 short of last year's total. So Cody Schrader last year sets the school record, this phenomenal rushing season, right? And what did we talk about all offseason? Hey, they can't replace Cody Schrader with one guy, but they can replace him as a whole. They've done almost exactly that. If they just run for their average rushing yards against Arkansas and in a bowl game, they're going to come up like 60 yards short, 50 yards short of last year's rushing total. So thought that was worth pointing out. Really what we're talking about this year that just hasn't worked the way we thought it was going to work. It's the Missouri passing game. For whatever reason, it just hasn't been what we thought it was going to be. And that's part of the reason why we're sitting here rather than talking about beat Arkansas and go to the college football playoff. We're talking about beat Arkansas and go to the Vegas Bowl, Music City Bowl, whatever. Chris says no issues with this game. Chris, that we got to have some at least fake outrage about something, man. This is no issues with this game. That's going to make for a really boring post game show. So we need some people to get fired up. Levi, okay, so I want to get to this point, and then we'll go to a few of the voicemails before we bring Jarod in whenever he's done with postgame. All these teams losing in front of us again really makes last week's loss hurt anymore. Or hurt even more. So Levi, I totally agree with that, but I disagree with the root cause you're identifying, which was last week's loss. I don't think Missouri was in the playoff, regardless of what they did at South Carolina. Stop that touchdown, go 10-2. I still don't think you're getting in. The issue in this season was the anchor of 75-10 to A&M in Alabama. And really, A&M. Like Alabama, yes, you lost 34-0. Number one, it's Alabama. Number two, your starting quarterback was out. You could have been forgiven for that. Had you simply lost to Texas A&M 31-24 rather than 41-10, it's forgivable. And then if you win the South Carolina game, you're in. That 10-2, close loss to A&M, kind of bad blowout loss to Alabama, I still think you get in because, like you said, everybody else lost. And I actually texted a few of my friends earlier today, and I said, every single thing Missouri needed to happen this year happened, except them winning enough games. That's it. Like, there are going to be a number of two-loss teams in the playoff because there's only two teams in the SEC. There's only one team in the SEC that doesn't have two losses right now. That's Texas. Everybody else has lost at least twice. You've got the Big 12, clearly a one-bid league, if not a zero-bid league. You've got the ACC, almost certainly a one-bid league. Now, there's a way maybe that SMU or Miami could get in with two losses, but if they get in with two losses, I guarantee Missouri would have gotten in with two losses. Indiana today brought their playoff status into jeopardy. Ole Miss just fell out. Like, everything you needed to happen happened. What didn't happen is you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. And I don't want to get too caught up in this because I think we did early in the year. Like, you go 9-3, you go win a bowl game. This is a good year, but this is what we talked about at the beginning of the year. It's going to feel like a missed opportunity. It feels like even more of a missed opportunity now because it really feels like you should have been there. Like that Texas A&M game is the one that I think when this is all over, you're going to look back and just say, number one, that's the one that cost you. And number two, how did that happen? Like, losing to A&M, I understand how that happened. Losing to A&M that badly in that way, and simply, like, I think a lot of people quit on Missouri that day, and not Missouri fans, nationally. I think a lot of people nationally saw Missouri and made up their mind about Missouri that day. That's the one that hurt you. It's not last week against South Carolina. Like, look, you were 23 before losing that game. You were 23 after. Yes, it would have been great to win that game, make one more play, go 10-2 versus 9-3. It would not have gotten Missouri in the playoff. The anchor around Missouri's neck when it came to the playoff is the Texas A&M game and just how awful it was. I mean, what are we saying about Indiana today? Well, they only played one good team and they got blown out. They didn't beat anybody any good. Well, Missouri, even if you give them that win over South Carolina, like that's a solid win, right? But the other two good teams, they got blown out, and so that I really think it's in hindsight, it was that Saturday in College Station. It was October 5th that cost you, not last week, not anything else, but I agree with your basic premise. What went on in college football today makes it sting a little bit worse because I think this team is good enough to get there. They didn't do enough, but I think they're good enough to have done it, but they didn't. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And so, yeah, I completely agree with Levi that like it makes it sting all that more. Again, that said, I think you'll probably, I don't know, you move up a spot or two maybe this week, maybe not. It depends on what some teams directly in front of you do. I know Army's getting beat by Notre Dame, so you're probably going to move in front of them. Like you'll be 21, 22, somewhere in that range next week. You beat Arkansas, enter a bowl game, say at 20, win that. You finish somewhere between 15 and 20 in the country with 10 wins for a second straight year. Look, nobody's going to say that's a bad season. Like that's a good year. You got a chance maybe to play somebody in a bowl game, all that, but it feels like you're going to look back and say, man, it seems like it should have been more. And this is what we talked about all season long, no question. So, Sham, all right, before we go through more of the chat, let's hit up a couple of these voicemails. And, again, part of this is going to be, hey, did we leave this at halftime? Did we leave this at postgame? What happened? But just hit me with, well, actually, all right, let's go with one voicemail. Gerard just popped on, but let's go with one voicemail and we'll play that, and that'll be kind of the intro for Gerard at the press box in Starkville.
Hey, Gabe, two-putt birdie here, calling in at halftime. Quick question. Brandon Johnson and Jacob Peeler, any way we could keep those guys on staff? They seem to get their units playing way above expectation or improving throughout the year and are incredible recruiters. Thanks for all you do, brother. MIZ.
Yeah, Jacob Peeler. Look, I think if Kirby Moore leaves, Jacob Peeler's got a pretty good shot probably to be the OC here. Brandon Jones, the offensive line coach, I would think he might be in demand. We'll see. But that's really kind of down the road. We'll see what the coaching staff movement is, all that. So, all right, Gerard Hamilton from Starkville, Mississippi, in what may be a supply closet in the Davis Wade Stadium press box. What's going on, Gerard? How's things, man?
What's going on? Actually, where the PA announcer does his thing. So it's like in this little booth inside its own room. So I don't know if y'all may hear some echo or some extra bass or whatever, but things are going all right. I mean, presser was all right.
Yeah.
Drink mostly just talked about how it's about establishing the run. I said, and I think two things can be right. I know when in your prediction you was like Brady, throw 300 yards. And I was kind of thinking, I don't know how much you would have them pass, considering this is 126th ranked run defense. They don't really got a line that can kind of stack up and Brady's risk, but Brady still threw for, I think it's 15 and 20 for 268 in the touchdown. Yeah. 3 touchdowns for Marcus Carroll, Bucko 1 for Nate Noel. So kind of a mix of everything. They ran the ball 56 times for 41 minutes. I mean, what do you do? What do you do if you're Mississippi State? You get like
make a play at some point.
Oh man, it was tough for them. So I mean, Drink just basically said, offense kind of started off slow. The fumble recovery for a touchdown by DC kind of woke them up, got things going, and then from there things were going all right. He did say when we noticed the RPO slant, just kill them on the RPO slant. I was wondering if that was one of those things where it's like keep them in front of keep Mississippi State in front of you because Missouri has gotten burned on the deep ball a couple times this year. Doesn't seem like that was necessarily the case. It's kind of a 2-part thing. So Drink said he knew Mississippi State would get trash yards basically. And so they cared about stopping them on third downs. I'm going to try to find that real quick. 2 of 10 on third down, so they did that. And stopping them in the red zone, I know they had to settle for a couple field goals. So they knew they were going to give up some things, but he also said that on those RPOs, somebody was kind of coming down too far in the box, basically. So they being able to do that. And then Dalen Carnell said somebody was playing, in the back end, they were playing off too far. So it was it's that middle point that Mississippi State was able to, kind of attack that. But, I mean, they got off rolling early. And when you finally score in the first half, it makes things a lot easier because you kind of dictate the rest of the game.
Yeah, business-like win, no question. Missouri did what it should. Mike brings up a good point. You got the game you've been asking for all year, man. They run the ball. The game got over like on time. We started the post-game show on time. You probably will get to sleep at some point tonight. Like this is a big day for you, man.
It is. I mean, add me to the coaching staff. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like it was making sense. Run the ball, just throughout the year. But yeah, if you can run the ball versus South Carolina the way you did, no, you can do it versus kind of one of the worst run defenses. But I asked, I think it was Marcus Carroll, is this kind of the rhythm? You guys were talking about trying to get in earlier in the season, and he said, yeah, it's just kind of like. Sometimes it's football, basically, is what he said. And sometimes it takes a little bit, later in the year or whatever for you to kind of, hit your stride and stuff. But they definitely feel like the last 3 games, including this one, kind of got to where they want to be a little bit on offense.
Well, that's interesting because that was my first post-game thought was like, this was the Missouri team I thought I was going to see this year. Run the hell out of the ball, receivers who make big plays. Offense looks good. Offense scores 40. Defense isn't great, but makes enough plays. Like, that's what I thought I was going to see all year. And we didn't see it till the 10th game of the season.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a little bit too late just because of the simple fact of when that South Carolina game comes. I mean, they did it. They played well in that game, but it's just one of those days where the defense didn't necessarily have it. So, kind of already playing with fire by how late you started and stuff like that. But, I mean, this is something I guess they should know about themselves a little bit better going forward. Obviously, when you change up the pieces, though, you don't know who you're going to have at quarterback, running back, or whatever. So that may change. But this should be like this offense, at least with Kirby Moore and Drink, like this is our foundation. Run the ball, set up the pass later on, and they were able to do that.
That's a good point. Like if you look at Drinkwitz's history, I think he's had 1,000-yard rusher every year he's been a head coach. Except maybe the COVID year, maybe Missouri didn't have anybody get there. But like for all the talk about him being this offensive guy and throw it all, actually what gets his offense going is the run game. And it's, it's the one thing Missouri's been good at all year long and really his entire time. So let's talk about a couple of the negatives. You addressed the pass coverage. Like I said, Missouri's got to live in the portal for defensive backs. Like even if Dalen Carnell comes back, he's the only one I'm sure starts next year. Everybody else, like you go into spring football competing for your job, there are way too many open receivers. And then the other one I said, look, man, the kicker, like he's at least got to go win the job. It's happening almost every week where there's a kick where it's like, all right, maybe it'll cost you, maybe it won't, but when you kick as many field goals as Missouri does, you got to make more of them.
That is true. I haven't looked at this particular stat in a couple of weeks, but last time I checked, Craig was leading the SEC in attempts and makes, but
misses.
The percentage, but the probably misses too. So the percentage wasn't lining up, obviously.
Coming into this game, he was leading in attempts, but he was not leading in makes, and so that tells you how many they've missed.
Yeah, so I think he's up to 10 misses. I think something else that's a bit concerning, and Drake has mentioned this maybe once or twice, is just I think that's his 4th or 5th kickoff out of bounds. Like that, so like, giving a team field position, what is it, 35? That you just can't do that. And so, that's something at least to bring in competition. But I think the good thing for him is, to be honest, I'm trying to think of a game where kicking necessarily cost them like something, like it.
I'm not saying it cost the game, but like it's made it harder.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I guess for the good part, like if you're missing kicks, haven't really done anything for the outcome of the game. But they may need to do that. As far as the cornerbacks, they're getting eaten up as far as, like, again, those RPO slants, some of those hitches early on. There was early on, I texted you about, there was a screen pass that I think Coleman caught for about 5 or 6 yards, and it probably should have been a 2 or 3 yard gain, and then just poor tackling. Something we keep noticing, and it's not even shade to him, it's just something we keep noticing. Marvin Burks, for whatever reason, he's not wrapping up. He's always, you can see him, he's always going to try to deliver the boom, and sometimes he does it when he connects, but sometimes people are bouncing off, ricocheting, and they're picking up a few more yards. So that's something. And I see Freeway Jarod say the kicking game changed the Vanderbilt game. Definitely forgot about that. He went like 3 of 6 in that game. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and Jarod, appreciate you being here in the super chat, man. Always appreciate that. So, look, injury stuff. I don't know if Drinkwitz said anything after the game. Did Hey, did he say anything about Kiwan Lacey? What happened to him?
No, but Marcus Carroll was asked kind of just like how did the running back room step up for him and stuff, and he just said it's kind of unfortunate because Kiwan's been working hard. No indication on how serious, what exactly it is. I just remember when he went down, it looked kind of like a weird, ugly play when he got hit, but he was on the ground for they stopped playing. He was on the ground for maybe 10 seconds, and then he was just gone, and stuff moved on. So I didn't really know until you told me. TV said he was gone, and then we had to kind of confirm, see what was going on. So
yeah, it looked like a potential concussion, but obviously we don't know that. Here's the other thing that it didn't impact the game really, but I'm curious if anybody was asked about it. How about Corey Flagg just taking a shot at a guy after a play and then Chuck Hicks throwing a punch? Was that discussed at all?
Actually, it wasn't. In it, I'm trying to describe how the mood of this presser was because there's been times after
probably
wins,
to get it done.
Yeah. Like there's been times where after pressers, I'm trying to think of the game where Drink said the team basically saved him and they won the game for him. Was that Vandy? Maybe. Yeah, I think it was Vandy. That's when he had the bad time management issues. He was really happy after that, but after the Boston College game, he was kind of mad. This one was kind of just it felt like relief. He talked about not kind of being worried that the team may have an emotional hangover.
You avoided a letdown.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about asking that, but you went by 19 on the road, get your first conference road victory. It's not that big of a deal in the long run, but yes, in the moment, I actually seen Hicks throw 2 jabs. He threw something else. And then
not sure how he wasn't kicked out of this game.
He should have been kicked out off the one everybody saw, but a couple seconds before that, he does the same thing. Basically, he does the same thing. So I don't know how he wasn't ejected for that play, but he wasn't, and so not good to give up a touchdown. Basically, 2 plays after that.
Yeah. Breakfast King had a question for you. How much do you hate cowbells after being in Starkville?
So funny thing about this, Eli Hall from the St. Louis Dispatch, he was talking the whole game how he just can't stand the cowbells and how they serve no purpose. I've actually been to Mississippi State before. I covered their championship baseball parade in 2021 when I was an intern in Alabama. We drove over and did something. So that's the first taste I got of it, and I was thinking, wow, this is obnoxious. But to me, I feel like I've got it out of my system. I didn't really care, but it was driving Eli insane, and so I laughed at him for most of the game as he was just oh my gosh, the cowbells.
I had a bunch of friends texting me I don't even think I can watch this on TV, and I don't know, I don't really listen to the broadcast or anything, so it's just background noise. I didn't notice it, but yeah, I know it's a thing. So how much of this game was Missouri, and how much of this game was just who they were playing? I
don't know if I could put necessarily a percentage. Well, I'll try.
Maybe but both contributed.
Yeah. 60% Missouri. I mean, I think they
Missouri deserves credit.
Yeah, you got the strip sack. You brought it to the house. You were able to run the ball. You controlled the game. The game was played on Missouri's terms. Pretty much after those first couple possessions, basically when they got the strip sack, that's when it became Missouri's game. The first 8.5 minutes were Mississippi State's game. They came out fast. That first drive, I said in the live updates that Missouri was sleepwalking, and so they were for that first defensive drive. And DC kind of mentioned offense and defense started slow, but this was mostly, I probably should give them more than 60-65%. This was a lot of Missouri having to capitalize because there was even moments where this game could have been even closer. It could have been in weren't they, was it Mississippi State inside the 10 or something, or inside the 15, and they got stopped on a 4th down conversion or something like that? They could have easily cut the lead to single digits. And so you get that, and then you score again. And
yeah. That was where I thought it was 31-20. You had 14 minutes left, and Levy goes for 4th and 3 instead of kicking the field goal, and I just didn't understand it. I thought that kind of ended the game to me.
I think that's just probably one of those coaches things where you're just you feel like you got the defense rolling, because I feel like that's the possession where they got the 49-yard completion over Pride on that one, and they were able to run a little bit. Was that also the one where game is just a bunch of glob at the end. Is that the one where they scored the touchdown and the holding call? They had 2 holds on that same drive, I think.
Could have been.
I
think you're right.
It's a glob, but
yeah.
Missouri still had to kind of get off the field. They still have to do their part in this stuff. So I give a decent amount of credit to them.
All right, last thing, and then we'll let you go right. All right, man, I got to give you credit because we have had some offline conversations about Luther Burden and what he is not. All right, first rounder, hell of a player, best player I've ever seen with the ball in his hands at Missouri. You're right. I should not have doubted it for 1 second. Like any talk about that was stupid. Hell of a game out of Luther today. And like not eye-popping numbers, but like that catch he made in the back of the end zone. Hey, if they're not going to call it OPI, awesome, great play. But I thought his best play of the game was like a little 5-yard pass, and he runs all the way across the field, made about 6 dudes miss, turned it into about a 20-yard gain. I mean, he just does things that I'm not sure I've seen anybody at Missouri be able to do.
Yeah, in that open space, man, he can make a lot of things work. Yeah, he took like that hitch for, I think it was like a 3rd and 5 or something like that. They really needed that, and he broke a couple tackles, and he got a lot more than we was thinking he was going to get on that play. But
it's not his fault. Like he can't call the plays and he can't throw the football.
Oh man, it's like Gabe has hopped into my brain.
No, you're totally right.
This feels like my get back for last week, or was it the week before the Oklahoma game where he kind of shut me up? I feel like this is my get back because Gabe was having his thoughts about Lou, and I'm like, it's not. Lou has had a couple passes drop and some things, but for the most part, offensive line at times hasn't played well. Quarterback, struggles and injuries and stuff like that. Yeah. But I just feel like, this week, last week with the one-handed catch, you could think like, man, Luther's not having that big of a game, because I was definitely thinking that on that last play. I mean, he had the touchdown early, but I was like, he's been kind of quiet. And then like a couple plays later, he does that 3rd down conversion and gets all those yards. So every time you need a play, this is what you need out of superstars, he makes one for you. And so, 7 receptions on 8 targets, 91 yards and a touchdown. Pretty decent day.
Yeah, and he came into the game 4th in the SEC in receptions. Like he's having a good year. Ray, I want to thank you for hanging out and for the super chat. And so somebody, a couple of people are asking better than Jeremy Maclin. Look, I'm not saying he's a better receiver than Jeremy Maclin.
Yeah,
he is better after the catch than Jeremy Maclin, I think.
Yeah,
like he's got more moves than anybody I've seen. Like, as far as getting open, complete receiver, no, Maclin probably better, Denario probably better. But once he gets the ball, I don't know that I've seen anybody at Missouri like him.
I just think he has a great blend. I think what's the thing about Luther is, yes, he has moves, but I think it's hard to tackle him. The first guy, like, if you put a percentage up, like, I mean, these are SEC players, so I'm sure a lot of the first tackles get made, but he makes a lot of guys miss. And if you don't get that first tackle, and I'm talking about by breaking the tackle, not just juking them out, he's pretty physical. So he's got that. And then, of course, he's got the moves to go with it. I mean, somebody's going to get a pretty decent slot receiver the next level real soon, in a few months.
No question. All right.
No, it's not official.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, appreciate you hanging out. I know that the Starkville nightlife is big time. You got a 9-hour drive tomorrow, so I know you got a lot of stuff to do. So we're gonna let you roll in.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: I ain't sweating no Stark Vegas nightlife. I'm going straight. I'm gonna do this work right here. I'm gonna drive, take a little hour drive to the hotel and finish up. But there's no nightlife.
All I'm saying, I get the credit card statement. There better be no Tupelo casinos on the credit card statement.
Gabe, you know me. I had bought real quick. I was trying to think ahead, so I was like, let me buy my dinner now, because last week had an afternoon game, didn't get to eat.
Everything's closed.
So I was like, let me get something now. Got some wings, but I was like, I'm not gonna get no fries. So because I don't know how the fries are gonna be. Gabe, I may on the way get some fries. So if you want to get on me for $4 of fries, I'll take the L for it.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you later on. All right, that's Gerard Hamilton live from Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville. Appreciate him stopping by and taking some time to chat with you guys, kind of let you know we always want to give you the post-game flavor. And again, like, I think it's important. We're going to all these games. We're going to every road game this year. A lot of people aren't doing that. So want to make sure that you guys get kind of a taste for how things were down in Starkville amongst the cowbells and all that. Appreciate all the chat. Keep coming with the comments, and we'll get to that. But we're going to go to the voicemail line for a little bit. And Sham, I know we've got some, so if you can go ahead and throw those in, and Freeway Jarod contributing to buy some fries for Gerard, so I'll have to let him know that. Go ahead with the voicemail, Sham.
Well, they're looking halfway decent, running the ball pretty well, doing what they need to do. Halftime, we up like we should be. I mean, I guess it's Mississippi State. Take it for what it's worth, but it's all good. It's an SEC team, so we beat them. Getting kind of sad because the season's almost over. But hey, maybe the basketball can make up for what football didn't do, but we'll see. But other than that, I mean, hey, I can't complain. It's all good. I mean, I could complain, but at this point, what's the purpose, I mean, yeah, it's all good, though. Brady doing his thing. Running backs looking good. Receivers catching the ball for the most part. And stop with the stupid penalties would be good. So it's all good. MIZ. Well,
I feel like that voicemail so perfectly summed up the opinion of this game, which was just kind of like, yeah, it happened. We won. Probably did what we should have done. Like, there just was no anticipation for this game. Very little excitement. Not a ton of excitement. Like, nobody's mad about the win, but just kind of, yeah, it's a game that happened, and so I think that's reflected in the comments, the voicemails, probably my post-game thoughts. Like, that's how I feel about it. It just was here. Anything other than like a 2-score win would have been pretty disappointing. Missouri was favored, I think, by 7.5, which seemed too low to me, was too low. Won by 19. Like, they just went and did what you expected them to do, and you move on to the next one. And I think the next one's a little bit bigger challenge. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. Apparently Auburn 21, A&M nothing. So there's two thoughts here, right? We already talked about how, yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity and disappointing, but also, guys, like, it's really hard to win, especially in this conference. And again, if you can go 9-3, like, counts for something, man. Like, I don't think anybody should feel too bad about this year. Like, yes, it's a missed opportunity. But your 3 losses, I guess, they're all top 20 teams. Like, yeah, you wish A&M, it would have been cool to show up at A&M. Would have been cool to not get beat by 34 at Bama. But, like, you didn't have an, oh my God, what the hell happened game, right? You didn't go to Mississippi State and lose. I guess there's one more chance for that against Arkansas, but you haven't had that to this point. And so I do think that counts for something. It also shows all you got to do is beat bad teams and you're going to win 8 games every year. Just beat the bad teams on your schedule and you're going to hang around. So, Sham, all right, let's go back to the voicemail line, man.
I want to talk about Brady Cook. I also want to talk about Theo Weiss. I also want to talk about Luther Burden. I want to talk about Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, Michael Agnew, Lawrence Taylor. I want to talk about Peg Brown, Brett Norfleet, Chase Kaufman.
All right. I think we get the point, Tom. Let's go ahead. All right. So you know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of the Instagram meme of, like, hey, guys can really just sit around and name old baseball players and entertain themselves for hours. That was the Mizzou football version of that. Like, we're just going to get on the voicemail and list off old Mizzou athletes, which I feel like could be a show. Like, so when Dave Matter was on the beat, still, he and I had 40 years between us of covering this team. And so, like, we would just see a player and, like, immediately relate it to a player that used to wear that number. Like, if I see a guy wearing number, 39, like, that's forever Brian Smith. But the fun ones were like the obscure guys. Number 41 was always Lee Uigman. to us. So that's what that call was. That was just, I'm just going to call in and list off a bunch of old Mizzou football players. All right, let's go to the next one.
What's up, Gabe? Just want to echo something that you've pointed out on multiple shows recently, and that's that Jamal Roberts should most certainly have every opportunity to be RB1 next year. I really hope if they get one running back on the portal, that's fine. But if they get like a clear-cut veteran starter to play over him, I think that's a mistake because I really like what he's done, even in the limited like pass blocking role. I think that's something that we don't notice a ton, but when I try to pay attention to it, he seems to do a good job at that. They seem to trust him with that role. And secondly, in his handoffs and the actual plays he makes, I've been impressed from what I've seen of him. He seems like a mature kid who understands his role and very much deserves a bigger role next year. Thanks.
Yeah, totally agree. And like, look, people get a little offended when you use the word deserve. They don't deserve anything. This is big boy football. Go earn it. Nobody's saying you just get handed a job, right? If you're not good enough. But Jamal Roberts has put in 2 years here. He has earned the shot to be your starting running back next year. Now, look, if Kawan Lacey beats him out in spring football, if a freshman comes in and beats him out, they just offered a junior college kid. If you get him and he wins the job, fine. If somebody's better, they're just better. But Jamal Roberts has earned the right that I don't think you go out and like they did last year, go get one or two guys where you say, hey, you're coming here to be our starting running back. I would not do that in the portal. And here's the reason why. Again, we go back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Missouri has basically replaced Cody Schrader, not with one guy, but on the whole, they have replaced Cody Schrader. So, like, running back is a very replaceable position. If Roberts doesn't end up being the guy you hope, then Lacey can, or maybe Jamarian Morrow if you get him, or the junior college kid, or whatever. You're going to find somebody, right? So, no, I totally agree. Jamal Roberts has earned a shot. I think Kawan Lacey has too. I've liked what I've seen out of him in limited action. So yeah, I would not hit the portal for a running back. All right, Sean, let's go to the next one, man.
Hi, Gabe. The Tigers look good today after a somewhat slow start, and I'm excited to see how they finish at the end for the end of the year against the Hogs. Let's hope we get into a good bowl. M-I-Z.
There you go. Summed it up. All right. No comment necessary. Let's hit the next one.
Hey, Gabe. First off, I'll say it's nice to go through a game and, not have constant heart palpitations because everything's just going back and forth all the time. So that was nice. A few things that could be cleaned up, of course. But, man, some of the tweets I was seeing out there were just – some people are looking to be miserable for the sake of being miserable. Enjoy the win. Secondary could be better, sure. Defense could be better. At this point, it doesn't really matter. We're not playing that for that much. Just enjoy the win. They can fix it for next year, and when we get to that point, we can talk about it. Stop being so miserable.
So a couple points there. And these are not points about Missouri football or today or anything. These are big picture points that are true of every sports fan base ever, anywhere. First of all, yes, I have said, I believe some people watch sports to be angry. They just are. They're angry people. It's how they watch sports. I have some friends that are that way. It seems unenjoyable to me. I have said, I watch sports because I enjoy it. If I stop enjoying it, if all it does is make me mad, I would stop watching it. That's just me. I know some people like to be miserable. I know people personally who they would never admit it, but they are only happy if they're mad. So I get that's part of it. The other part is because we have things like our message board, like this show, like X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, like social media, it is not that people are dumber than we used to be. We've always been dumb, especially as sports fans. It is that we now have a microphone to broadcast to everyone how dumb we are. And I don't accept myself from this. The only difference between me and those people posting is I try to make most of my in-game comments via text message privately to friends that I know are not going to screenshot them and put them on social media, rather than putting them in a public forum. I mean, if you could screenshot, my conversations with friends in the middle of the Royals playoff games or Chiefs games or even some Mizzou games, I would look every bit as dumb as everybody else does. I just choose not to put them out there publicly. So that's the difference. We're just putting them on a public forum. Like, I went and I was reading the game thread on our Ohio State board in the first quarter when Ohio State was trailing Indiana 7-0. It was exactly the same. Refs against everybody, totally outcoached, unprepared, no effort, bad play calling. It's all the same thing, guys. The only thing that changes about a game thread is the names and the fan base involved. Every game thread is always exactly the same. Everybody's tweets are always exactly the same. It's not any different. So that's just, that's how it goes. And that's what we do. It is our public group therapy. Again, it goes way back to the quote. And I'm going to out myself as a little bit stupid here because I can't remember exactly who said it offhand, but right. Better to stay quiet and be thought a fool than open your mouth and prove it true, or whatever that quote is. Yeah. Just say the things privately and you're an idiot, but only like 3 people know you're an idiot. Say them publicly, everybody knows you're an idiot. But overall, most of the reaction I've seen to this game, like I said, is, yeah, cool. Got to win. Should have got to win. Not necessarily, giving anybody a gold star for it, but should have got to win, and then you just move on to the next one. Just a very business-like approach from Missouri. Didn't do anything fancy, anything they, didn't have to do. But I thought it was interesting, and I had not realized until Jarod said it. Brady Cook, 268 yards. I'm pretty sure that's a season high. And really could have been well over 300 if the Brett Norfleet touchdown doesn't get called back. Would have been over 300 with 2 touchdowns. Ran for 200 yards. Just a very efficient offensive day out of Missouri. We talked about Luther Burden. Dalen Carnell is a guy that I do think we should talk about a little bit more here while we've got a few minutes. Want to get you guys at least to an hour here. Again, I knew this show would be maybe not quite what some of them have been this year because of the stakes and the opponent and all that, but we'll get you to an hour. But Dalen Carnell with the 67-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Look, he hadn't been perfect. Right? He's missed some plays here and there, but because everybody does. Nobody's perfect. Dalen Carnell has been, at least in the back 7, Missouri's best defensive player. I would say him and Corey Flagg. Very consistent. Might have a mistake here and there, but very consistent around the ball. Generally, if there's a big play, he's been involved. I think Johnny Walker and Christian Williams and Chris McClellan up front have all been pretty good. So I don't know that I would say Carnell's been Missouri's best player on defense, but in the back 7, I think he's been Missouri's best player on defense for sure. And I'd put him in that conversation with Walker and McClellan, really, for Missouri's best defensive player overall this year. But Christian Williams forces the fumble. Carnell picks it up, runs it back. As Eli Drinkwood said, as Jarod said, as we've said, completely changed the game. Took that from a game where you're kind of on edge going, Are they gonna wake up here, or is this gonna be kind of a game they let Mississippi State hang around all day? What's gonna go on? To a game where you go, okay, cool, got breathing room. You can afford a mistake here and there, but 14-3, at that point you felt pretty good. Game wasn't over because the game's never over with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. But I think Dalen Carnell certainly made the biggest play. Well, Christian Williams and Dalen Carnell made the biggest play of this game. And so I thought that that deserved to be recognized maybe a little bit more than we have. Malachi, again, kind of like a lot of people, last week's loss hurting more now that I see the upsets. And again, wasn't last week, guys. It was A&M. That was the one. That was the one that really hurt you. Marcus, I appreciated it. You outed yourself as stupid long ago. Fair. Absolutely fair. Jeff says it was Mark Twain. I literally thought that's who said it, but I thought, I don't want to say it's Mark Twain and then have a bunch of people tell me I'm an idiot in the replies. So I just said I wasn't sure who said it. So, but that's what I thought, if that makes you feel any better. All right. Apparently LSU is struggling with Vandy. Is it an issue that this team seems to start so slow in road games? Been an issue for a while. So, Kurt, it's not just road games. This year, it's all games. I mean, coming into today, they had been outscored 83-19 in the first half in the SEC. And yes, some of that is certainly 24-0 at A&M and 17-0 against Alabama. But even take that away, they've been outscored 42-16 in SEC road games. That not home, not away, just total. Coming into today, they had, 83-19. They had 19 first half points in the SEC before today. 10 of them were in the Vanderbilt game. They had 9 combined in the other 5. That's, I don't know if you guys are how good you are at math, but that's less than 2 a game. So the first halves have been problems. And Jarod asked Drinkwitz about that on Tuesday. And like Jarod said, I stumped him. He said, I wish I had a good answer for it, but if I did, we'd have fixed it. And that's honestly the answer that's the answer to a lot of the questions you guys want answered. But when you say you don't ask the hard questions, well, the answer is we don't know. If we could have fixed it, we already would, right? And so, yeah, this team has been bad on the road. Now, again, they played 3 top 20 teams on the road. So I would venture to say you stack those 3 road games up for everybody in America, I would say nobody goes unbeaten. Maybe 1 or 2 teams do. I would say fewer than 10 teams have a winning record, and fewer than 25 win one of them. So part of it is the teams Missouri played on the road. But you're right. I think they said this was only Eli Drinkwitz's 7th SEC road win. He is in year 5. So that gives you 5. This was his 21st game. So I think he's 7-14 on the road. So yeah, that's the thing. But like winning on the road is hard in the SEC. I mean, look at what's happening to A&M right now. Alabama lost it at Vandy. A&M got bombed at South Carolina. You know what happens, guys? It's tough. There's a reason that it's really hard to get where Missouri was trying to get this year. It's especially out of this league. There's just a lot of things that can come up and bite you. Slow starts, yes, an issue. But really, I don't know if it's slow starts this year so much. It's just the offense just wasn't what we thought it was going to be. And the passing game especially wasn't what we thought it was going to be. So yeah, clearly issue, no doubt. But maybe just part of like the larger picture. Let's see. What do we have to do to not get screwed by the refs on spotting the ball? Yeah. So look, I've said it in real time. Like they had, I thought it was 4th and a yard, like a full yard for Mississippi State. This was early second quarter, I think. And even the refs running in from both sides were clearly a half a yard behind the chains. And then all of a sudden it was just move the chains. Same thing happened last week at South Carolina. Now they fixed it at South Carolina. They did not fix it in this game. It didn't end up meaning anything today. So, like, that's why we're not talking much about it. So I'm sure Drinkwitz wasn't asked about it. But, like, why do you even have the ability to measure if you're not going to measure? Why even have guys on the field, honestly? If you're just going to look from the press box or on TV and go, yeah, it looks like a first down. Like, I can do that. Pay me an extra few $1,000s. I'll just tell you if it was a first down or not. We're good. And I'll do it for all the games. Like, I don't just have to do it for Missouri games. I do it for a lot of games. Seems like a good way to make a living. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Honestly, the officiating's been really bad. And I think it gets more and more noticeable because every game is broadcast. We have a bunch of camera angles, although in this one, we didn't have very many camera angles, to be honest. It was bad, no question. And I think it probably happens in other games. I just don't watch other games as closely as the Missouri games. So that's the thing. As of right now, if we won last week, we'd be looking good for the CFP. Yeah, not quite. It's just not. Let's see. Love for Dalen Carnell. D gives up some big plays, but fourth down is good. Yeah, the defense is not bad right now. The secondary, I have questions about. Defense is not bad. It's just inconsistent, and when it's bad, it's really bad. Like it's big plays. It's not these long sustaining drives, So not perfect by any means. Does Drink go after Kevin Coleman for next year? I mean, look, the transfer portal opens on December 9th, and we'll see who's in it. And I'm not trying to be obtuse. Of course, there are negotiations that go on. Like if Missouri really wants a kid, if they really want Kevin Coleman, I promise Kevin Coleman's going to be aware they really want him. So are other teams. Mississippi State's aware of that too, and will make every effort to hang on to him and do everything it needs to do so that he doesn't get to the portal. Receivers at the place, like I did a little of this in the chamber. Like, yeah, I could see him going after an upperclassman receiver. I don't think you need more than one, but this team doesn't really have a proven receiver next year. Like Marquise Johnson's a good big play guy. Josh Manning, we like the potential. They got some young guys that'll play, but like nobody that goes into next year ever having had 500 yards receiving in a college football season. So, let us see. Keep on going. We're getting Bible verses. Apparently, I quoted the Bible. There you go. Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he is deemed intelligent. There you go. I like that better, even though I had to think about what it meant. Psalm brings up a good point, which I had brought up yesterday or Thursday on our preview show. First win over Mississippi State since joining the SEC. That means since joining the SEC, the only team that Missouri has never beaten is Alabama. Now, if you want to include Texas, fine, but like they've never played Texas as an SEC team. Played them in the 2017 Texas Bowl, I think. But yeah, of the teams who were in the SEC when Missouri joined up until the start of this year, Alabama is now the only one Missouri hasn't beaten. So you don't get any bonuses for that or anything, but hey, it's kind of a thing. Let's see if we've got anything left. What is the status of Matt Zollers? He's fine. He said he's like, I saw him at the Oklahoma game. He was walking around, had a brace on, but he's fine. He said he's going to be ready for spring football. He'll be healthy next fall. Nobody expects him to be Missouri's starting quarterback next year. Like you watched a true freshman starting in the SEC today. It's not really what you want. Mitchell, how much does a hypothetical 10-3 season help with recruiting and transfers compared to 9-4 and 8-5? I don't think it's that big a difference, guys, especially transfers. They want to know two things. How much can I play? How much are you going to pay? Those are the two things. Like, yeah, going 10-3 helps you a little. I mean, you can go out and say, hey, we won 10 games back to back, but 8-5 and playing and losing the Las Vegas Bowl versus 10-3 and winning the Music City Bowl, it's just not that big a difference, I don't think. The only way I would say maybe it's as important is the ranking. Like you can say, hey, we're top 20 2 years in a row or top 25 2 years in a row, whatever. But I honestly don't think there's that big a difference, especially to recruits. Christopher Denario Alexander vibes from Josh Manning. Yeah, that's a step too far for me right now, Chris. Let's go see him prove it next year. Thoughts on keys to a Mizzou win? Run the football the way you've been running the football and let Arkansas make mistakes the way Arkansas usually makes mistakes. That's what I'd say. But look, Arkansas's got some talent. They can make some plays. I don't think next week is as easy as this week by any stretch of the imagination. And I think it'll be important to Arkansas. They kind of like it was important for South Carolina. They want to turn their fortunes around in this series. I think it'll be a big deal. Big deal for you guys this week on the Opponent Preview Show. I'm going to bring my buddy Trey Biddy on from the Arkansas 24/7 site. I know you guys are going to want to be there for that one. Real quick, I've gotten this question 3 or 4 times. Did Drink call plays today? I don't know. Not to my knowledge, but again, I wasn't there. I didn't ask the question. Apparently, he had a play sheet on TV. I don't know if that's unusual or not. Wouldn't think it's that unusual, but I don't know. We'll maybe ask on Tuesday. But I'm not sure, to be quite honest. But again, kind of a different week because it's Thanksgiving, but still going to be here. Like, we'll have all our normal stuff on Sunday, Monday, media day. I assume they're still going to do Tuesday since they play on Saturday. So we will have all our normal coverage. We'll just move some of our Thursday stuff. Like, I normally record the opponent preview show on Thursday. We'll do that Wednesday. But pretty much normal week, guys. Last week of the regular season, it's crazy. I was telling my wife today, like, I think this is the fastest I've felt like a football season's ever gone. Like, it feels like it started like 3 weeks ago, and we're at the last regular season game. So appreciate all you guys that have hung out with us, not just tonight, but all season long. Would like you to hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things that help us get noticed by more people on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, kind of same deal. Please go ahead and, leave a nice comment, share it, tell people about us, all those things. Want to also remind you that all year long, pregame and postgame shows, we've only got a couple left, but all year long they've been brought to you by our friends at America's oldest brewery. That is Yuengling. You can check them out online at yuengling.com. You do have to be 21 to get into the website. You also, in theory, need to be 21 to consume the product. So we encourage you to do that. It is sold various places all over the state of Missouri, and you can't get it everywhere in the country. I learned this from Yuengling. If you live in a state where you can't get Yuengling, but you have someone bring you Yuengling from another state, you are referred to by the company as a smuggler. So whether you are a smuggler or you actually can buy it in your home state, whatever, we don't care. We only care that you get it and drink it and enjoy it. Still some good football games on tonight. So crack open a Yuengling, watch some games, wait for more coverage from Jarod, and we've got post-game coverage coming to you from Starkville as well, from Connor McLean. So appreciate you guys all hanging out tonight and all season long. We'll do it one more time. See you next week.